I'm joined here by my client, Toni, today. Toni's been working with me in person and online for the last 9 months, and she's got some amazing results. So, Toni, thank you for taking time out of your day to jump on the call today.
It's a pleasure.
So, what would you say was your greatest frustration with your own training before we started working together?
I think probably wasn't so much around frustration. It was more that I was in need of some guidance, I think, because I was going to the gym and I was training, but I wasn't following like a particular plan. I was just kind of, going and doing exercises, but not necessarily having any goal in mind or following any skill-based goal.
Yeah, so you're just saying that you were looking for more structure and more of a, plan that would progress over time towards higher level skills.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that was what I was looking for at the time, but I felt like I was needing some guidance at least.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. And you said that you were kind of doing your own thing. Did you try any programs or any other kind of systems or anything like that beforehand?
Yeah, so I did have a personal coach, and I was with her for about 2 years. And then when she got back, I just didn't pick up the ball for some reason. But I did keep on going to the gym by myself and, working away by myself for quite a long time. Maybe it was about 9 months before I started working with you. So there was a big sort of gap there where I was just working out on my own.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
what would you say is your favorite results so far?
I would say definitely my being able to even attempt doing a handstand.
Yeah. Well,
So,
you're doing more than
yeah,
attempting handstands now, Toni.
beg your pardon?
You're doing more than attempting handstands now. So you're upside down a lot now. So that's definitely you're able to do a handstand.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm really thrilled about that actually.
Yeah, that's cool. And did you have any fears or apprehensions before you started working or before we started working together?
um, Not really. I was more because I started doing the classes quite early in the morning, and I was a little bit nervous about doing a group class type setting. So if I had any apprehension, I was probably a bit shy about doing a class. But I didn't sort of once I got there, it wasn't so scary.
Yeah, okay, so that's a really good point. And I think that would be because I know from talking to a lot of people and clients and friends of clients that that's something that a lot of people have struggled with is, maybe not liking a gym environment or not wanting to do group classes, for a number of reasons. So if someone is in that position that they would like to get started and they maybe even have a class that they know they'd like to go to, or when all of this COVID-19 stuff uh, calms down, they would, but they still have that fear. What would you kind of give? What advice would you give them towards getting started?
I think I would definitely recommend doing it because it is really nice having that, group environment where you're all working together. And so you do have a little bit of, I think, working in a group, it sort of builds up your momentum, perhaps more so than you would on your own. And it's not as scary once you get there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I found with people or with clients as well, a lot of times clients will be doing just one-on-one work, and then when you're in a class together, it's not necessarily that you're being competitive, but you're like, oh, they're doing that, I can do that as well. Like you kind of get that more confidence sometimes. So it's a really good point that you're making about, the benefit of classes or small group training for that.
And I did like how you'd always do a little high five at the end of the class.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a nice little, it sort of, I think brought us together a little bit. You know.
Yeah, you could definitely see, that because just for people who are watching, there was a 6 a.m. GMB fitness class that I used to teach back in Melbourne, and Toni was part of that, and she was also doing small group training. But it was really cool, like, because it was 4 or 5 of you, everyone was doing handstands and chin-ups, and it was just a really fun group, and everyone seemed to be enjoying the training as well, because you all had quite similar, not necessarily similar goals at the start, but then you all started working towards handstands and more advanced skill work. So it was a really nice environment, I think, for everyone.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. How would you say this program is different to others that you've tried in the past?
Well, it's not so much focused on, trying to get in as many repetitions as possible, or, pushing yourself as hard and as fast as you possibly can. If you're doing like weights or barbells or something, you're not trying to, overload yourself in a short amount of time. I think what I really have appreciated is the more sort of mindful approach to how you're moving your body and dealing with your body in whatever the exercise might be.
Yeah.
And that's a really big thing for me. It's almost more like meditation than it is, hardcore gym work.
Yeah, definitely. So just you're getting more in tune with how much you can push yourself on that day based on what you're feeling. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, well, let's say, for example, if you're doing an exercise for time rather than repetitions. So it's not so much that you're trying to get 10 push-ups in, you might be trying to get 1 or 2 in, but you're really focusing on the whole body and how how your whole body is responding to that exercise in the moment, rather than trying to get 10. I'm just trying to get 1 or 2 really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, basically taking the whole rep scheme out of it makes you focus in more on the technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I completely agree with that, Toni. Um, so I kind of asked you this already with regards to classes, but let's just say if someone is struggling to get motivated to get started with training in general, not necessarily classes, but just to get started with physical training. What advice would you give to them based on your own experiences and based on your own results?
Well, obviously, I'd say definitely do it, because I think for me personally, like, I never thought I'd be a gym person or somebody that wanted to exercise, and now that I've started doing it, I feel the benefit so much more in my whole life. I feel like I move much better during the day. I feel much more confident in my body, and I think mentally it's really good for you too. So I think in that sense, I definitely do it for that reason. Um, let's see. Yeah, I just think it's really helpful to be able to be in your body and see what your body is capable of doing, or what you're capable of doing through exercise.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I think the point that you made there about you not having really ever thought of yourself as being someone who would be into going to the gym or into physical training, um, there are definitely a lot of people out there like that who are kind of put off, I think, a lot by what they perceive it to be. So, what other kind of maybe advice could you give, or ways of getting people into it? Is there anything else you could say that would really kind of get someone around that maybe negative association?
Well, for one thing, I used to get back pain quite a bit,
Yeah.
because I did a lot of heavy work in my life, and since I've been exercising, I haven't had back pain at all, really. So for that reason alone, I think it's really good. But I think it's one of those things where you build up, like, the effects of it sort of seem to make sense over the long term. So, you start to realize that, after, quite a few months, I'm actually starting to feel quite good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to sort of trust that if you stick with it, those improvements, although subtle, will, compound. And, I just think we live such stationary lives, a lot of us. So to be able to move our bodies is I think really important. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, just give it a try and see how you feel. And I think it's a no lose thing to do. Like if you exercise, only good can come out of it, really.
Yeah, definitely. And the point you made there about if someone is kind of in a position where you were before when you didn't ever think that you'd really be into exercise, but if they can just frame it from a point of view of, hey, I've got back pain, so I know that this can actually fix my back pain, that's probably a good positive motivator behind just getting moving because it's going to get you out of pain.
Yeah, and it really does. But that's only one benefit. There's many. I mean, perhaps psychological too. Like like in a way, I almost think of it as an antidepressant.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like it definitely. Like if I've gone to the gym or had a workout, then I will generally feel much more able to cope with the rest of my day than I would otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. I think now more than ever, it's just having that physical practice on a daily basis or, a few times a week is going to be really helpful for people from a mental health point of view as well.
Yeah, 100%. That really does. It puts a bit of a spring in your step.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. So how would those close to you describe the differences they've seen in you over the last 9 months?
Uh, well, probably they might say I'm a little bit obsessive. Like about making sure that I get my exercises in. So I think that would be one thing I might they might see. Otherwise, like I don't really talk about it a whole lot, so it's not like I broadcast that I'm doing it. It's more of a sort of quiet internal thing that I do. So, but I think maybe if I'm doing something, if I'm lifting something or helping somebody do something, then that I've got a bit more than I look like I have.
So you just went out of the call, just kind of paused there, Tony. You said that when you're helping someone move something or furniture, they say that you're
A lot
with
more
strength.
stronger.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have
So I
that.
have I have a lot. I'm a bit stronger than I look.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, everyone who's watching, Toni can do chin-ups, she can do handstands, and yeah, she's very, very strong when she's in the gym and outside the gym, as she just pointed out. What has surprised you most since you started, Toni?
I think definitely being able to do a handstand, and even considering to attempt some of the ring work like the skin the cat, looking at things like the planche lean and the L sit that you were doing the other day that could lead up to the parallettes, like actually thinking about doing something that sort of looks slightly like gymnastics has definitely surprised me.
Yeah, definitely. And that seems to be, you can, change or let me know if it's any different, but from a like long-term motivation point of view, I think when clients and myself as well are focused more on skill work and progressing, the motivation is a lot easier to come by, and it's more, you don't tend to get as bored as quick, I find, with this type of training.
Yeah, absolutely. And you start off with those little steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then, over time you start to realize, oh, I can now kick up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can now get my heel floats happening. So and then like you think back to a few months ago, I couldn't do that at all. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that is definitely surprising. And watching your progress build, bit by bit over time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when you can see the stuff you're capable of doing now versus last year or last month, it's really great for motivation, I think, when you're not just sweating every time, but not actually utilizing or adopting new skills with your training as well.
Yeah, definitely having those goals is and it's fun too.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do get a handstand, it's like, yes.
Yeah, it's worth all of them hundreds of attempts when you didn't get it. It's worth it. Um,
That's it.
everyone who trains handstands knows what we're talking about. It can be very frustrating, but also very fulfilling. Um, okay, so would you say was your main goal when you started, and what is your main goal now?
I think my main goal, because I was uh, following, I found you through the GMB
Yeah.
stuff. So originally I was thinking, oh, I would really like to, do some of the locomotion exercises because they looked a little bit more outside the box from your usual gym training stuff. So that was definitely what what I was drawn to initially, and now I'm just really interested in how I can progress those skills that I'm working on at the moment, like the handstand and maybe some more ring work and parallel stuff as I go on. But even just things like getting a good shrimp squat
Yeah.
happening,
Hmm.
yeah, is kind of really good too.
Yeah, and that's a good last point you made there about, well, I wouldn't say the shrimp squat's a basic exercise, but yeah, like coming back to movements that you might be able already to do, but trying to do them with a better quality than you did before.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, Tony, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat today, and yeah, some lots of really good information there. I think especially based on you not really ever thinking that you were going to be into training. I think there's a lot of people out there who are probably in a similar boat. So I think they'll get a lot of benefit from just kind of hearing your journey and like kind of how you've cultivated this kind of into part of your life and routine. So yeah, I really appreciate you jumping on the call.
Well, I'm as surprised as anyone, really.